So Thursday I started with welcome. Now I start with goodbye. But please wait for a few more minutes. Oops. How can here? Maybe I can. Yeah, I can change slides. So those of us who are here, we had this sort of view about the screen, looking at our own screen sometimes, and then watching the big screen. And I think that was a good team experience. I'm very thankful for having the possibility of at least having some good team here on the location and not being forced to have a fully online meeting, which is like very disappointing for me, I have to admit. So let's be quite brave. So in the end, I share some statistics. So we had 104 registered participants plus the local staff who helped. So altogether about 110 people. So on site, we have 21 persons for some reason did not come. Remotely, we had 84. And if you look at the list, besides the Hungarians, we had a significant participation from the Netherlands and France on site. And also from Israel. So it's really, geographically at least, we covered quite a large range. Remotely, by far, UK was the leader and Japan was the second. And for me, it's some surprise that from the US, we had only 2 remote participants. So like we shifted to Europe and the eastern part of the world. But still, again, we could cover like a wide range, and I am thankful, especially at the 2 ends, like West US and Tokyo, that those who got up early and those who stayed up late, that they participated in the conference actively. So I call your attention again that the proceedings and the abstract book are available, and also on YouTube you can find the recording of the talks. Later there will be some photo collection as well. If I hope nobody objects. I think it was in part of the registration. Also, I call your attention that we ask for the extension of your papers and submission to the Info Communication Journal. And well, the details we shall send later on, but now just I inform you that here is this possibility. And I've had thanks at the beginning, but also at the end to everybody. I think we are especially thankful to the keynote speakers who just gave us good overviews and initiated ideas. Thanks to the sponsors. And finally, from my part, I hope that we can meet with many people at Interspeech in Brno. And also we are looking for cooperations with people. So maybe you know also just Hungary and the Hungarians a little bit better. And there are many ways of cooperation. So here is this address of our lab, and you are welcome to meet us. And finally, but not least, I'd like to ask Esther Klabers as chair of the SynSIG board to tell her views, and also we get some extra new information from her and from someone else as well.
Thank you, Geza. And I just want to say thanks on behalf of SynSIG to everybody involved with the local organization. I know it was really challenging, but thank you so much, everybody, for such a great workshop. Even though it was hybrid, it was good that at least some of us could be here in person and yeah, interact with each other and with the people online. And yeah, then it's my task to announce the next speech synthesis workshop in 2 years' time. So interspeech is going to be in Dublin, Ireland, and the next speech synthesis workshop, drumroll, is going to be in Grenoble. So Gérard, you can come up and give a short presentation.
Hello guys, so remotely you are getting the slides. Thomas, you have it?
Yes, I can see that. Thanks, Gérard.
Okay, so thank you. Yes, so we candidated, so we are successful in getting. We are very honored, in fact, to welcome you in 2 years' time. So the idea is that we will try to focus, in fact, the next edition to speech synthesis in interaction. So just try really to use this technology at the benefit of spoken interaction. I don't know how to speed up or down. No, okay, let's go. Oh. Yeah, so the organizing committee, we try to collect not only people from Grenoble, but also we try to sample, in fact, a major speech synthesis team in France. So beside myself, Thomas Hubert and Olivier Perrotin, who is there from Gypsa Lab, in the organizing committee, we have also Nicolas Aubin from IRCAM in Paris and Damien Lolive in IRISA in Rennes. I hope that you know these guys. So first of all, the scientific content. So as you mentioned, I already mentioned, I organized the first one in some years ago. I'm very happy that SSW is back to Grenoble. If you remember, at that time it was talking machine, so it's like a TV. So you have in fact a robot or an agent telling stories or telling or speaking out text to infants. So so it was imagining telling storytelling machines. I think when the technology is not still up to date to tell stories to children, but okay, I think it's time also to raise, in fact, new horizons and new challenges. So as I said, we would try to promote this idea of putting speech synthesis in action, in interaction. So in human-machine interaction, so conventional agents, or also human-to-human computer-mediated interaction, for example, assistive technology, especially, for example, using voice conversion for restoring speech communication, speech-to-speech translation, and so on. So the idea is really to put this technology in a pipeline, in fact, to the benefit of interaction. Second point is that likely the Blizzard Challenge will be the first organized on French language. So we can also profit on this. So we evaluate synthesis not only of utterances, as you have seen today. We are considering a sequence of utterances, and people have also quoted that it will be interesting to consider paragraphs and so on. So try to evaluate synthesis on dialogues and whole paragraphs. Also consider characters, as mentioned by our host. In Grenoble, in Autran, it was a ITER-W. So ITER-W. T was for tutorial. So I think it was perhaps interesting, in fact, to benefit from let's suppose that we will be in presence. So we will have plenty of very high-skilled researcher. So to have a tutorial day before the workshop, to have keynotes on spoken communication and interactions, and perhaps an afternoon dedicated to on sessions where the people can be in front of a computer and perhaps set up their first speech synthesis system. So at least largely open to undergraduate students. They can come from only one day to receive the big lessons, and also engineers for the industry. So perhaps to have new blood injected in the community. So of course, I suspect that it will be also an hybrid event. We are in the world of the afterworld. But I will insist that the authors presenters should be online, maximum, because it's very difficult, in fact, to have authors. So of course, the possibility of virtual attendance, but try to be there to share things. Next slide. So what about Grenoble? So Grenoble is the capital of the Alps. It's an urban area close to 500,000 inhabitants. It's very, very low. It's 200 meters above the sea, so very flat. A lot of our ecologist Maguer, which is candidating to be president of France, is promoting cycling. So of course it's surrounded by high mountains, 3,000 meters almost. And just to remind you that Grenoble will be the European Green Capital in 2022. So our university is the third largest in France, with about 60,000 students, which is nothing for a Chinese attendee, but which is quite important for at least for Europe. And we have over 3,000 researchers. So for the venue, we pre-booked, in fact, the auditorium of the Grenoble Painting Museum. So it's quite famous. It's a large collection. So it's just 5 stops from Grenoble train station by tram. It's 270 seats, so it's ready to welcome a large audience. And so it's just next door, there is a restaurant where we can host lunches and breaks. And as perhaps you can see on the photos here, you have a large and forecourt where you people can relax. And the old town and the Place Notre Dame is just across the street. We already planned a free visit of the museum after closing to the public.
Gérard, you forgot to promote the good food and good wine.
It's France. It's France. So yeah, okay. So enjoying Grenoble. So the weather. So you can see here the old city. Here the lakes, La Fraye, where I'm doing windsurfing myself. If you follow me on Facebook. So anyway, so Grenoble is a continental climate. August is nice. It used to be very hot, but nowadays it's quite pleasant. Sunny days in August. Local transportation, so Grenoble has 5 tram lines, a lot of buses, a lot of squares, scooters, trottinettes electric, like in Paris, are very, very usual. And of course, you have Museum of Free. Most of the museum are free downtown, so you have Grenoble Museum, we will be hosted, but there are a lot of others. We have several microbreweries, many bars, and a lot of concerts in August. So almost the last. So getting to Grenoble, we choose Grenoble better than Paris or Nantes because we have a free international airport and a lot of airport shuttle from Lyon. Lyon, for example, every half an hour there is a shuttle. It's connected also to Geneva. Of course, it can be reached by train and bus. You have TGV from Paris, TGV from Lyon, TGV from Marseille. And of course, it's a lot of highways, especially in work in Grenoble. So quite. So I think the best is to play you a video, if that's possible. So it's a Bastille. You can climb from the center to the top, where you have this view. It's the auditorium. February. December. Good. So, see you in Grenoble in 2 years' time from now. In fact, I think it's quite interesting to have your feedback since we are all there. I see, in fact, that there are not so many papers. I think so. I want to have your feedback about the format of a publication. Why do we obtain less submission than in the past years? Do you consider SSW as competing with ICASP and interspeech? So you prefer, in fact, to have a more impact in this large conference. So you would prefer, for example, to have shorter papers, late breaking reports, and so on. So something lighter in terms of publication, or are we still in the good format? Just a question from the organizers. Any feedback from the audience, remote or local? What do you think?
I can give a first shot. Maybe people can raise their hand and can be promoted to also share the point of view. But indeed, timing with respect to interspeech and ICAS, right, is very important. So I don't think the format, at least as long as I'm concerned, I don't think the format should be changed, but rather thinking very properly about the right timing with competing events. Simon King, right, from University of Edinburgh. Simon, can you join here? Can someone please promote Simon to speaker?
Do I think
he is here? He's here.
Mm-hmm. He's here.
There we go.
Ah.
Hi. Yeah, no, I'm happy to speak to that. I like the longer paper format, and I think my student co-authors would agree that it's nice to have that bit of extra space to write in. So I wouldn't change that. I don't think that would put anyone off. It's an attraction for me. Speaking as sort of working with sort of a company as well, I think they would strongly prefer interspeech because a reason to publish is visibility to the big audience. And that's just the way it is, I guess. But they are attending here, maybe not putting their paper here. The submission deadline is always tricky. Another reason, again, speaking for my students, another reason that as we have some papers here is because the deadline was a bit later than interspeech. So things that didn't make it for interspeech came here in terms of timing, which is actually a good thing.
Delay of submission is very important. So you can make it. You can't make it for interspeech. So you have this other opportunity to submit to speech synthesis.
Yep. Okay. I guess looking over the papers, I mean, Amazon are well represented, but maybe other companies not so much.
Yeah.
Here, and so maybe it's like company by company decision as to whether to publish here. So people, maybe there's some non-Amazon industry people could speak up and sort of say why aren't the multiple Google papers here, for example. They're sponsoring, but I'm not seeing them presenting so much unless I've missed something.
Right. So from Javier in the chat, I see a problem. One of my interns told me that SSW papers are not listed, so no DOI, so they are not valid for their degree.
I think that's maybe changing. We need to talk to the ISCA archive.
Gérard, sorry, we could not hear you. Go ahead.
Of this, and most of the time they have the DOA. It's perhaps not the case right now, but they will have every paper, recent paper in the ISCA archive as a DOI. So I don't see why something is wrong.
So something is wrong. They already have a DOI. Okay. So if you go to the ISCA archive right now, you will find it. So like Csaba Zainko and Martin, they worked a lot on doing that. So it's completely there. So sorry for a misunderstanding. Well, we missed it right now, but I hope that next time you will know it. So it's for each and every paper you have a DOI already. So it's like past tense.
It was very strange for me because we are really working hard for ensuring that every workshop endorsed by ISCA has all the papers have DOI. So yeah.
Yeah, maybe I think conferences are so much more than the papers. So perhaps SSW needs, as you've got a tutorial day, maybe it just needs more extras wrapped around it. And I guess people knew that this one was going to be in this format and that the extras were very limited. You know, the evening drinks and the long social breaks. So maybe that's put people off. I'm sure that won't be the case in Grenoble. But I think InSpeech has all these extras, you know, evening receptions, student things, all of that stuff. So I think SSW could do a lot better and wrapping that stuff around the papers, because the papers are the papers. They're okay. I mean, they're interesting, but it's not the only reason to come here. So I think your tutorial day is an excellent idea. And I think other things like that, long lunch breaks, you know, 2-hour lunch breaks with things to do in them, lots of time to talk and to meet. That's what I go to.
It's a win-win. For example, I think in Grenoble, I think also here, we were planning to have discussion group, but it's impossible if, you know, only 10% of the people are in presence. But I think it's exceptional. But as I said, I think the main purpose for me of the workshop is really to have some kind of long-term vision of where the field is going and what are the priorities, and to have to discuss about hot topics. So yeah, sure, it will be.
So my comment would be that yes, actually we planned exactly the same thing. So we wanted to have 2-hour lunch break, half an hour coffee breaks, and so on. So to have more interaction. But when we had to move to the hybrid format, it was impossible to include both the time span and have this longer program. So that's why we had to decide to squeeze the lunchtime and the coffee breaks. So I think it will be a challenge. So I saw that you plan to have a hybrid event. Because then if you want a hybrid event, then if you want to cover like from Vancouver to Tokyo, then you cannot have long breaks in between, because otherwise your program will not fit in the 3 days. Then maybe you will have more days, and then that's a problem. One thing that could be also considered, I think, is maybe if like to have SSW in a year, if there is an emphasis on European participants, so that when there is no interspeech in Europe, because for some people it can be a problem to have like 2 weeks off continuously. I don't know, so it's I would be interested in the others who are here right now, whether it was a difficulty or not, or people who are online, whether they had to decide that like online participation here and maybe personal participation in Brno. So that can be also a question. So my feeling is that if we want to keep hybrid, then we have to decide whether we want on-site interaction more, or we want more people have the possibility to join at normal times. Otherwise, they have to get up very early or stay up very late. So it's that was our challenge, and that's why we try to do a compromise when we saw that the majority of the people will be online. But if it will be the other way, of course, you have to.
Right, we have also Sébastien on the call. Sébastien.
Yeah, just something like we came to realize is because now SSW is every 2 years, that means it's synchronized with having interspeech in Europe. So you're not hearing me, or sorry.
I can, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's just something that like people in the community might have to think about, because if we want to keep that constantly joint with interspeech and keeping the same like rolling sequence in some way, it's going to be constantly in Europe. So yeah, just raising this point basically.
Right, it's also a concern for interspeech, in fact, because alternating between Europe and other parts of the world, it's defavoring other parts of the world, because you discard whole continents. So I think we are thinking of ISCA is thinking about interspeech being in Europe every 3 years now, not every 2 years. So to favor diversity. But just to coming back to remote participation, I think the idea is to, for example, I think poster sessions are very important, because it's avoiding this linear interaction where you switch between subjects and so on. So I think for the next edition, we will have poster session, and the remote people will not able to attend. So for me, a remote attendance is for guest stars and perhaps selected oral sessions. But you should to say remote people should be punished somehow. they will not do everything. So yeah, you have to have incentives to come. Yeah, sure.
If I can just like maybe suggest a small thing, I don't know if that's the case because obviously I'm not on site, but maybe something which could be nice is to have one dedicated room for people who want to go to the special site or this kind of equivalent if they are on site and want to chat with people online in some ways. So Geza, I don't know if you actually add that here because obviously I'm not there, but maybe adding something like that could improve part of the interactions.
Well, the chat room was available, so I'm just interested in the audience here because I had no time to go there. But when I asked, it turned out that that there was traffic there. So like spatial chat seemed to be successful, and we saw that something like 15, 20 people were there occasionally. So it's I see that as a good alternative. If people are not interested in the particular talk that's going on, then there is still a way where they can just interact and have information. Of course, it's true that in the online you don't have that long discussions. Like we had the welcome party was I think something like 3 hours, and then yesterday the dinner was 4 hours. And an online interaction, you don't have that long interaction. So it's I think at least for me, that was a more valuable opportunity than having the same thing online. So I can't imagine sitting 4 hours in a virtual conference dinner.
Just sharing, you see here from the chat, Pilar mentions that personally she thinks that keeping some slot for online presentation would make it more democratic for students that, for example, can't apply to the registration fees or traveling or people that are far away. Also, you mentioned posters. I really appreciate personally the fact to have audio samples. So if there are posters, I guess we need to think about being able also to listen to audio.
Sincerely, it's not a problem of money. In fact, as a workshop organizer, normally I have 10,000 euro to spend each year. And nobody, in fact, is claiming for money. Travel grants are also open and so on. So I think really, if you have students, they want to come, they can come, sincerely. So no auto-censoring behaviors. So especially if you are from under-resourced countries, I think there are, even if you don't present papers and so on, I think ISCA is ready to, and we have a lot of economies, you know. we didn't spend anything almost in the past years. The travel grants, it's almost zero. You just pay 50 bucks for registration. So I think there are really possibilities for the next event to be in presence and welcome a lot of people.
I would be happy if like somebody from the people here, especially for the young people who are first-time conference, would just come out and share your experience and also what you are waiting for in the future, because yeah, this is your future. So we are just like getting older and older, getting out. You are young, fresh, energetic, so you are coming in. So just please share your opinion.
Hi, so I'm a first-time attendee, and I'm really glad I came here because it was great to meet you all. I kind of wish I was going or I could see you again in 2 years. Hopefully that would be great. But essentially, I thought it was well organized. I like the socializing, and I look forward to meeting you again soon, hopefully in the future. It was great.
Nothing was missing.
For me, no, it was great. Yeah.
We need the gender balance.
So hello, I'm Adese, and like some people here, this is my first academic conference. I was kind of nervous about it coming, but it was such a good group. All the people from, some people have been here since 40 years ago. So it was really nice to get some insight, at least some personal advice on my project, and just to have the space to talk to people and get some ideas and hopefully get some collaborations with some people. I think moving forward in the future, it would be really nice to have more females and more diversity for sure. Speech and language in general is a global thing. Everybody does it. And, I think also extending languages to under-resourced communities. There's so many things we can learn from other under-resourced languages. Gérard and I were talking today about the click languages in South Africa. And I mean, it could open possibilities to more things. So who knows? So glad to know that there's some funds that other communities who don't really have that much money can tap into. So it'd be really nice to maybe reach out to young computer science departments in under-resourced places in Africa or Latin America to see if they can hopefully spark some interest into speech technology in general. So yeah, I think that could be an interesting direction moving forward, and I'm excited about it. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. And of course, we have one more comment.
I can answer to Jennifer.
Yeah.
So Jennifer, the bylaw is a bylaw, but in practice, you can negotiate. So if you're a researcher in your early career and you have no funding, just tell us. Just tell us. ISCA is your home for speech communication people, and it's covering speech science, speech technology. It's my end of term. I cannot be president, sorry. But you know, I try to dialogue with IPA, for example, with ACM and so on. So all these the other scientific agency or association which are concerned with speech. Sometimes it's very tough, you know. They try to keep their people. But you are welcome. It's really an open home. So if you have a temporary difficulty, you cannot find funding, just tell us. The board members are like you. It's you know, we are associate professors, researchers, and so on. So we are open and flexible. We will always find a way, in fact, to help you.
Okay, just complete.
Hi everyone, my name is Fat. I'm a PhD student from the University of Groningen from the Netherlands. And well, first of all, thanks for inviting for opinions from young participants. This is my first time attending the SSW and also the first time attending any in-person event. I've honestly been enjoying it so far. Like, everything is great, but if I would have any, let's say, opinion, I would say probably it would be better to have maybe more time for discussion and let's say, more time for discussion in between each sessions of presenting, so that it would be a bit less burning in like trying to following so many presentations in a short amount of time. But as Geza has already explained, it was like kind of a forced choice because of the hybrid format. So, well, anyway, so I hope that for the next one, it could be a bit better in that aspect, so that especially for new participants, it could be a bit easier to try and follow things more. And another opinion maybe is that I would hope to have, let's say, more time for, let's say, a hands-on session or tutorials more, so that like it would be a bit more, let's say, inclusive to participants or researchers from, let's say, other backgrounds and not just purely technical in a way to say. I think that's all from me. Thank you again.
Thank you. One more question, which can be interesting, is we made the presentation time longer than usual, because usually the oral presentations are like 15 minutes and we made it 24. What is your opinion? Was it helpful, or like instead of having longer presentation times, we should have had longer breaks? Or, well, what is your opinion?
I think 15 minutes would have been fine for most presentations. But as Fat said, with the necessity of being hybrid, everything had to be an oral session. And if you have 3 days with 2 days with 3 sessions and this day with 2 sessions, it's really hard to keep staying focused for an entire day and follow along. And yeah, no matter how interesting all the presentations are, there's going to be dips in your concentration. So in that sense, yeah, that's a little bit of a pity, but we did the best we could, I think.
So now it was the only way to trigger discussions, because the discussion, it was after, in fact, a presentation. So,
right. True.
So in fact, you need, you know, before asking a question which is interesting, you need to digest, in fact, the information, and to have time. You know, you cannot react in real time and just in 5 minutes raise your hand, and it's like interspeech. It is only the stars which are really reacting. But so I think no, I think the time was okay. So sincerely.
So any more comments online, or Oh, okay. So there was that people said, I see it from the chat that quite many people appreciate it. I agree that in 50 minutes you only have 10 minutes to talk and 5 minutes for discussion. That's too short. That was our opinion. So that's why we wanted to extend it to 15 minutes, and we let people even make it a little bit longer. Okay, you can switch.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I also like to have longer discussion time. In addition to that, it might be worth thinking to have two type of paper categories, like short paper and long papers. If you have, very good ideas, provided you wish to write long paper, but if your idea is preliminary, but if you want to have discussion with community, provide, short paper should be sufficient for that purpose. So depending on the motivations for the authors, we may have different lengths of the papers, and that might also, reduce how can I say, the barrier for the entry to the community. Yeah, just one comment or suggestions.
In fact, it exists in a lot of conferences. It's called late breaking reports. It's used it's used in HRI for community, for example. But the idea is to have long papers, which are quite selective, and after short paper, which are reviewed, but just to check if you are in the field. So yeah, perhaps we can do this. So to have a very light review for short paper, it could be late. So it could be, I don't know, with a time limit of two months before the workshop. And just reviewed by the organization team, for example, just to check if you are, if it makes sense. What do you think? Is that okay for the people asking for short papers?
So that would contradict to the previous request to have a DOI and to be accepted like in the advancement of students. I don't know how it's with others, but for us, for example, in a PhD, by the end of the second year, you are supposed to have at least one impact factor journal paper. So that means that you should have like an approved at least two conference papers that are approved. And if you have this like lighter level for a shorter paper, then in the academic evaluation, that can be a problem. So at least you know that there were these kind of conferences where between December 31 and January the 3rd in Canary Islands, you had a very nice conference, but
it's depending on communities. For example, in psychology, they have meetings, they have conferences with 8,000 people. I published in this. Other meetings, for example, it's just a resume, and it's well established. You get a lot of people, a lot of discussion. It's interesting meetings. And after you have journals, you have big conferences. So the idea is not to compete, in fact, with Interspeech and ICASP or journals. Is to be complementary. It's the place where it's a special interest group. So where you meet, you share ideas, you test, you have recommendations. For me, it could be perhaps a solution is to have a real, so to keep these 6 papers, the 6 page, perhaps even more, so that you have reference paper that are indexed by Scopus. I don't think there is no problem with this. And perhaps to relax a bit for others, which are just want to not to come with the hands in the pocket. and just to have a poster, to have something to discuss with others, so that they justify, I don't know, the displacement. So I think it's interesting. As I said, HRI, for example, they organize large poster session where you have like ASA meeting where you have a preliminary result, people can discuss, establish collaboration. Oh yeah, it's interesting. I've done this and so on. So not to be able to come there with some written ideas somehow. So a simplified process. And perhaps with no DOI. I don't think as abstract have DOI. It could be a solution. We can try it. But it's
yeah, but Javier has this comment that this indexing by Scopus or Web of Science.
But I don't know. SSW is referenced in Google Scholar, in Scopus, and no, most I don't agree. It's like DOI. I think it's misleading, but we can check.
So then I think we can close here, and then those who are online, I think special chat will be open still for some time, so people can continue there, and those who are here, they can still discuss, and you are free to have a meeting.